Hello, my name's Andrew, and today I'm going to talk about DevOps and CICD and kind of define those terms and do that quickly here. So, the first thing, obviously, we need to define is DevOps. Um, DevOps really came from the history of developers and operations working separately. If you read the book, the Phoenix Project, that's really good. That goes through a lot of the principles and the setup of DevOps. But there's also this article out here that I'll link in the description that talks about some of the history, the conferences where it got coined, and then what kind of conferences came out where people took the idea and ran with it. So, but the main idea is that historically, development and operations have worked separately from each other. Development usually works on something, throws it over the wall, operations has to run it. That really causes conflict, right? Because development really wants to throw as many features in as possible. They want something new and shiny. Operations really doesn't want anything new. They want it to stay up and running. So every time development does something, they introduce a bug, that causes problems for operations. So what the people who started this idea of DevOps said was, well, development really needs to talk to operations. They need to see where the pain points are for operations, and operations needs to know what development's doing so that they can coordinate and figure out a better way. So, what is that better way? Well, the easy part of CI/CD is the continuous deployment, because really what you're talking about is you're saying, I want the stuff that development is doing, I want that to be into production, whether that's my website, whether that's an API, really anything I'm trying to deliver, I need to get that out as quick as possible. And the way I'm going to do that is with operations. I'm going to define a process that's consistent. It's got to focus on quality. It's going to be uniform. So if I'm doing this with 10 projects, I really don't want to design a different process for every single project. I might have, do a cookie cutter where I might say I'm doing some circle cookies, some star cookies, depending on the project types. We might have some different templates, but we're not gonna start up a new project and be like, okay, we're gonna spend the first 3 months working on how we're gonna deploy this thing. It just really makes it easier for the next project coming in, and everyone knows what's going on. They can jump between projects, and everyone's pretty comfortable. They can just start right away. This also makes it more reliable and make sure your testing's there. But continuous deployment goes a lot deeper. But really, the concept's really simple. We want to push something from development into production, whether that's a website, whether that's a container, who knows. So after continuous deployment, the probably more complicated one is continuous integration. So the continuous integration is more of a development practice. Ops really isn't too involved with this, but they could be. It depends on what tools you're using here. But you're really focusing on continuous testing, quality focus, and quicker features. Depending on how your team works, if right now you're doing annual releases or quarterly releases, continuous integration is trying to get you to the point where you can develop features faster, to get like daily features, or 8 times a day features. You need the deployment side to speed up the deployment, but most of the work's actually spent in development time, because once you have your deployment down, it just goes and runs. But you need to focus on your development team to get quicker features, because if you're used to working in annual cycles or biannual or whatever, it takes a lot of work to get into that shorter cycle. And one of the big things that will affect how you're working is source branching. So I just wanted to quickly talk about this, but if you think about your source branch, it's really like a tree. If you're going to climb a tree, you usually want to stay closer on one of these trunk branches that are bigger and thicker. In Git, when you use Git, by default, there's a master branch currently, and that's basically your trunk, and that should be what you're releasing. And the farther you get out on these branches, the more it's likely that one's going to break and you're going to fall. The same's true in Git, or any other source control. if you take these branches down here, the farther you're out, the more likely these are to cause problems. These can get disconnected. So yellow came down here, but then they pushed down red, so it's continuously integrating those changes. If they didn't do that, eventually they'd get over here. If they wanted to push these lines back, they'd have to pull in those changes and merge. It's really a problem for long-running projects. I think the best practice is really integrating daily or hourly is the best if you're on a really big team. But pulling in work other people have done, making sure your work stays in sync, because the last thing you want to do is work on a feature for a month, go on a 2-week vacation, come back, someone else has done all this other work on this side, and now you have to figure out what you did after you're coming back from a vacation. It's really just a bad idea. You won't remember what you did, and it's just going to be a problem. So continuous integration is really getting your source code so it's getting checked in daily, merged with other people's code if you're working on a large team. If you're doing this solo, it's really not that big of a deal unless you're working on a ton of different features, which is a different bad idea. But this really just helps clean up your release process. This probably isn't how I would want to do work, but it is definitely a possibility of a way of doing it. And really, you get your continuous integration. Once you have your branching structure right, you can start running tests with other CI tools that kick off testing. You can do quality scans, and the real goal is just faster features. So that is all I had for you. If you like the video, please thumbs up. Send me a comment if you thought anything was missing. If you want to hear about anything else, or go ahead and subscribe, and I can get more videos out to you guys. Thank you.